So next up, we're going to talk about responsive design and media queries. So the term responsive design is something you may have come across before. It refers to basically making a website that is able to respond to the device that it's on, whether that means the screen size, if it's on a small device like a mobile phone or a super large monitor, or the orientation of the device. There are other parameters and other things that we can look out for, but the goal is to make a single website that is responsive to something around the device that it's being displayed on. So originally, early days of the internet, it was pretty much just computers, just monitors, and they were pretty standard size, right? They weren't like huge monitors and then super tiny ones. There just weren't very many computers. So it was easier to design websites. But then over the years, different devices and different sizes exploded, whether it's tablets, extra large displays, super tiny displays. I mean, even websites that you can view on your watch. There's all these different screen sizes. And early on, when it was mainly mobile devices and computers or laptops, whatever you want to call them, people would create actually separate websites for mobile. You might remember this. You might go to like reddit.com and then mobile.reddit.com or m.reddit.com or google.com or m.google. These were completely separate websites. They didn't really share anything in common. Yeah, the same branding and logos and stuff, but it wasn't the same markup. It wasn't the same style sheets. More recently, like the last, 7-8 years, the term responsive design has become a lot more popular. And it's, well, I already explained what it is. It refers to creating a single website or application that is able to respond to different screen sizes or different features on a screen or on a device. And the way that we actually do this is by using media queries. Media queries are features or things that we can write in our CSS, in our style sheets, that allow us to change our styles or add new styles depending on some parameter, most commonly screen width or device type or device orientation, landscape versus portrait. So we can do things like, if this is in portrait mode on a phone or landscape mode, display this. Hide it on portrait, show it on landscape. If we're on a super tiny screen, let's collapse the nav bar so that it doesn't take up as much space. Now, we're going to spend more time in the next video diving into media queries, but here's a preview of what it looks like. We have @media and then some parameter or multiple parameters, and then we write our styles inside. So these styles will only apply at a certain screen size or below. So let me show you an example of a responsive site. I promise I'm not being paid by Stripe. I just like their website. They have a lot of nice pages on this site. Here's their main landing page. This is their customers page back here. Nice animated header with all of their customers, or I guess some of their customers. Now I'm viewing this on a pretty large laptop display. I don't know what, I think it's 15 inches, 16 inches. Now I can shrink the screen down, right? And we can see that certain things resize, right? This text right here resizes. So it's pretty large here. There's space on both sides. That space shrinks, and then it resizes right there. Now, what else happens? Let's look at this little nav bar. So if I go back to the top, we have 5 pieces showing at once, but then I shrink down small enough. Now it's scrollable. So that's slightly different. What about the very top nav bar? This nav bar here is spaced out. I've got the logo. I've got the 4 links or 4 little things I can hover over and then sign in. Now, as I shrink this down, they're going to go closer together, I assume. Yes, they do. And then they collapse. So they're not there at all, and it becomes a drawer that I have to click or a little pop-up. What else? Well, let's keep going down. Let's look at some of this here. So we've got these 8 companies, and we've got this layout here, and I'm going to resize. Okay, so that text is shrinking down, and then eventually they stack. So the layout is different. It's not just scaling everything down, like zooming in or zooming out, which is what a lot of early mobile websites were, just a horrible experience, a very tiny version of the same website. I remember when I first got an iPhone and I went to read the news on New York Times, it was just the regular New York Times website, just really small, and you had to zoom in with your fingers to read anything. So that is not very common these days. We've got a totally different layout, right? So this goes on top. It takes up a lot more space. This text gets a lot more room to breathe. And this layout changed. We're now in a row of 2, or I guess in columns, however you want to view this. It's 2 across instead of 4 across like we have right there. Another thing you can do to view websites as they would actually display on a mobile device is open up your DevTools. And if you go to this button right here, Toggle Device Toolbar in Chrome, there's also a shortcut. I think it's Command-Shift-M. Yeah. This is going to open up our website in a different view, whatever page we're on. And we can actually select a mobile device to mimic. So here's what the Stripes website looks like on an iPad. I can actually click and drag to mimic scrolling with a finger or clicking on something. I can change the device orientation. So now we're in landscape versus portrait. Let's look at a Pixel. Let's do a smaller phone. An iPhone 5, I think, is relatively small. So let's see what the nav bar looks like here. Look at that. It's narrow. It fills basically the entire screen, that drawer. Now let's go look at it on an iPad again. Click on, it's actually expanded into the nav bar. It's not shrunken all down like that. Let's look at an iPhone X. Okay, so it responds. As you can see, it's a slightly different shape, different size. The point here is not that you need to use these dev tools all the time, but they're here for you to view your own website and see what they look like, especially in the next couple of videos as we experiment with media queries. We'll learn how to change things. We'll learn how to do something like, first of all, let me turn this off, like make this text shrink down on a smaller screen. Okay, well, I didn't just shrink it. There we go. It just shrunk right there. Or how do we, make these stack on a mobile device and then go side by side on a larger device? How do I make this go from 4 across to 2 across? Or if we look at, the same thing here, same idea here, I'm sure this will shrink down and stack at some point. There we go. Totally different layout. We've got these 2 cards, one on top of the other. They'll go side by side, I assume, and they do. So in the next few videos, we'll learn how to do that. It's really just learning how to toggle the two or how to switch between them. We already know how to make something, go 2 across or go 4 across, or we know how to make text stack. We've talked about things like Flexbox. We know how to make text bigger or smaller. We just need to decide when and how we actually make that change, which is media queries, the next video. So that's coming up.